Buckle up for today's wild tale. Zurax's accidental foray into a human elimination strategies seminar. In Zurax's brilliant but quirky mind, this was an ambition nowhere on his radar. He wouldn't deem it remotely suitable for any interspecies educational establishment under typical conditions. But everything shifted when his dorm room door burst open, exposing an outlandish creature, sporting a shock of pale yellow fur and a body unnervingly rigid for a two-legged being. "Who are you, and what's the meaning of this intrusion?" Zuraxis exclaimed, his textbook tumbling to the floor. "Oh, wasn't it communicated by the school?" The creature responded flippantly, "You've got a roommate." "I'm Vince, a human male, age 16. A genuine pleasure to meet you." Zarek scrutinized him intensely, a long silence hanging in the air. "Human, indeed. From Earth, the third planet orbiting the star Sol." Vince offered a casual shrug, noticing Zaraxis's continued vacant expression. Zaraxis remained silent, fixedly staring at the human in an eternally uncomfortable tableau. Finally, his mind managed to synthesize the astounding declaration. Human. The planetary soul system designated humans as Category 15 Deathworlders. A visible tremor coursed through his gelatinous bipedal form, shaking every internal organ. He realized with dread, the Academy had assigned him a Deathworlder roommate. He harbored intense animosity towards them. They consistently tormented him in the school's communal areas. They perpetually derided his academic dedication, seemingly envious of his unwavering confidence in securing admission to a top-tier collegiate institution a mere 2 years hence, and resentful that, in this sophisticated environment, their brute strength paled in comparison to the influence of intellectual acuity. Raising his gaze for a renewed assessment of the human, a sight unfolded that sent tremors through his very core. The being radiated a potent aura, dwarfing the intimidation of his tormentors. A raw, perilous energy igniting every survival mechanism within him, blaring alarms. Preventing this unholy roommate arrangement was paramount, lest his existence descend into utter torment. His ethereal form, refined to directly assimilate celestial light for survival, was significantly more fragile than that of typical herbivores. For someone occupying the very nadir of physical prowess, cohabitating with a Tier 15 Deathworlder felt like courting oblivion. Absolutely, unequivocally, no. Zaraxis completely lost it, his voice escalating to a near-hysterical shriek. "This is utterly unacceptable. I flat-out refuse." His hand lunged for his data crystal, desperately contacting the school administration before the human could even voice a single opinion about this arrangement. "Hold on, just hear me out." Vince stepped forward, hands raised in what he clearly intended as a placating gesture. "Keep your distance." Zaraxis recoiled abruptly, almost stumbling on his desk chair while his shaky fingers toiled obsessively with the data crystal. "Headmaster, she's online. This is Zaraxis. A grave error occurred with my lodging allocation," Vince stated, navigating cautiously around the strewn textbooks. "I recognize I appear unconventional, but I pose no threat. Might we perhaps discuss this matter? A catastrophic Level 15 deathscape has manifested in my personal quarters," Zaraxis proclaimed into his crystal, utterly disregarding Vince. "I demand an urgent reassignment, or I shall be compelled to withdraw my participation from this program." He probably held the unique distinction of possessing the principal's direct line on speed dial. He'd significantly boosted the school's prestige during the recent inter-school competition, and was likely the sole student whose injury warranted the principal's direct intervention. "Seriously, Just indulge me for 5 minutes." Vince extended his hand. "Don't even approach me," Zaraxis exclaimed, almost fumbling the crystal as he recoiled against the wall. Resounding footsteps reverberated through the adjacent corridor, swiftly closing in. Suddenly, a figure materialized in the doorway, and Zaraxis's eyes widened in utter astonishment at the director's remarkably swift arrival. The silhouette was Principal Siaza, a Vryer distinguished by her ethereal, pale green skin and an eyeless face. Instead, her visual senses resided in a pair of elongated antennae that moved autonomously. One swiveled towards Vince, while the other fixed intently on Zaraxis, who cowered against the wall, visibly shaken. "What in the world is happening?" she inquired, her tone unexpectedly soft, yet laced with undeniable authority. Zaraxis rushed to explain before Vince could even utter a word. "Principal Saza, they've saddled me with a Category 15 Deather as a roommate. This must be some monumental administrative oversight. It's simply impossible. Surely." "Actually," Vince interjected, "I attempted a simple introduction, explaining our new roommate status, but he panicked before I could elaborate." "This is my initiative," Principal Sahaza stated softly, drawing Tenny's and my undivided attention, "to rectify the myriad issues plaguing this institution, including the Deathworlder bullies tormenting you, Zaraxis. The student body and faculty alike are unaware of our new human student." An antenna pivoted towards Vince. "I hold extremely high hopes for you. Precisely due to the demanding circumstances you've overcome, your presence could be the catalyst this institution vitally requires." The other antenna swiveled back to Zaraxis. "While I hadn't anticipated such an intense response to our latest addition." Zaraxis's internal systems visibly continued to quake. "It's not. I wouldn't presume all Deathworlders are inherently violent, but my encounters have certainly shaped my views." He paused, hesitant to articulate his true feelings for fear of sounding utterly biased. Principal Sahaza exhaled softly, and Zaraxis felt a distinct sense that she perceived the nuances behind his guarded phrasing. "Let me propose this. All right, one night of shared quarters it is. I'll secure alternative arrangements by tomorrow." Zaraxis thoughtfully weighed the proposition. He trusted the principal's commitment and worried outright refusal might jeopardize the whole opportunity. "Just one night, then?" he conceded, though hesitant. The principal simply nodded, gave them both an inscrutable look, and departed, her footsteps echoing down the hall. A thick, uneasy silence now enveloped the room, pressing down on them both. Zaraxis completely ignored Vince, gathering his scattered possessions. He'd rather spend the night sequestered in the library than endure the Deathworlder's presence. "Leaving so soon?" Vince inquired, shattering the awkward stillness. "The library?" Zaraxis responded candidly, still engrossed in his collecting. To Zaraxis's genuine astonishment, Vince remarked, "I wouldn't dream of imposing on you. Given your unfortunate encounters with Deathers, I completely grasp your reluctance to share a room. No hard feelings. We're good." Vince moved towards the exit, and as he stepped across the doorway, Zaraxis unexpectedly questioned, "Where exactly are you headed?" "If someone is destined to slumber in the library this evening," Vince responded, "it's undoubtedly me." He then vanished, leaving Zaraxis isolated amidst his literary collection, grappling with an unfamiliar, unforeseen sensation he couldn't fully decipher, utterly clueless about their potential encounter during tomorrow's lecture. 24 hours post the roommate fiasco, Zeraxis occupied his customary front row perch, encircled by his usual gaggle of gentle, non-Death Worlder herbivores. He gripped his datapad with excessive force, his translucent organs still harboring subtle aftershocks from the prior night's jarring interaction. He'd discerned Vince's arrival. Cloaked and hooded, Vince effortlessly blended into the classroom, baffling his peers. Zeraxis attributed this uncanny camouflage to the modern indifference towards unconventional student attire. Shedding species commonly concealed themselves when molting, thus a hooded figure seemed unremarkable. Yet Zeraxis keenly noted Vince's location, the Death Worlder Corner, a haven for high-gravity carnivores, where he sat alongside Mizara, a feline who frequented the very group that perpetually tormented Zeraxis at school. The scene utterly disrupted Zeraxis's typically rational thought process, almost obliterating the fledgling positive perception he'd reluctantly developed for the human the prior evening. Predictably, Vince was drawn to the antagonists. Inevitably, he assimilated seamlessly among them. Other students, previously lounging outdoors, rapidly streamed inside, signaling Mr. Hack's impending arrival for xenobiology. He entered with characteristic elegance, his lithe form appearing to float. Pale blue skin, sharp yet refined features, prominent cheekbones, mobile pointed ears, marked his presence as he scanned the room. His lustrous silver hair was meticulously woven into an elaborate braid cascading past his shoulders, his expansive, almond-shaped eyes radiating a profound aura of wisdom that silenced even the most boisterous students. "Let's begin, everyone," Mr. Hack announced gently, his voice resonating effortlessly throughout the chamber. He offered no acknowledgement to the hooded figure situated in the Death Worlder section, focusing solely on arranging his materials on the table. Zeraxis observed the human ensconced amongst the predatory students, his translucent organs roiling with profound unease and a simmering undercurrent of resentment. At that precise moment, he resolved to complicate the human's existence, if only once. In his estimation, it was inescapable that Vince would assimilate into the Death Worlder's culture, swiftly becoming indistinguishable from them. Let's expedite things and unveil his real character. Today's focus: phenomenal adaptations empowering Death World life forms to thrive in those brutal habitats. Mr. Hack initiated, his elegant hands flowing as he elaborated on Mr. "Excuse me," Zeraxis interjected, his raised hand radiating the self-assuredness of the class's top intellect. "I've conceived a thought-provoking query that could illuminate the very essence of these abilities." The teacher halted, a single eyebrow arching with graceful intrigue. "By all means, Zeraxis, elaborate. Consider, if you will, a purely theoretical construct," Zeraxis initiated. Hypothetically, for purely scientific inquiry, what optimal methodology would one employ to terminate a human, considering their formidable Category 15 Death Worlder constitution? The morbid query hung ominously. Zeraxis subtly observed the Death Worlder enclave, keen to discern Vince's reaction peripherally. Mr. Hax contemplated the query earnestly, utterly oblivious to the cloaked figure mere meters distant. "A profoundly insightful question, Rexus. Given our solitude, we can explore this with absolute candor." He commenced pacing, his motions retaining their elegance even amidst the somber subject. "Humans possess remarkable resilience, yet they harbor inherent frailties. Oxygen is their lifeline, a vulnerability exceeding that of most Death Worlders. Sever their air, and incapacitation follows swiftly, within mere minutes. Contrary to popular belief, They possess unexpected fragility. Their bones fracture with surprising ease for a species of their classification. In hypothetical combat against the Galactic Council, a precise strike targeting their respiratory system or specific pressure points could yield decisive results. Finding Vince unresponsive, Zaraxus's simmering resentment intensified. Should subtle provocation fail, a more forthright approach might unveil the human's authentic character. Indeed, Zaraxus stated, adopting a voice akin to proposing groundbreaking research. Perhaps we should instigate a hands-on symposium concerning this very matter. Let every student present their species' hypothetical method for subduing a renegade human. It's a fantastic opportunity for advanced comparative xenobiology. The teacher's pointed ears twitched with visible unease. I question the full suitability of that for... That's an absolutely ingenious proposal, exclaimed Kaller, a plant-eating student seated close to Zaraxus. Comprehending existential threat vulnerabilities could significantly aid our future. Precisely, concurred another herbivore. Zaraxus invariably offers the most profound insights to advance our comprehension. Mr. surveyed the affirmative nods of numerous students, evidently feeling challenged by Zaraxus's scholarly standing and escalating endorsement. Extremely well, he conceded hesitantly. However, we shall structure this as a hypothetical exploration of species preservation guidelines. Each student could elaborate on potential strategies their species would employ in a rogue human crisis. A flurry of hands shot up across the classroom with unsettling eagerness. Mr. Huck called on them individually, each response heightening the already tense atmosphere. Mizara, the sleek, black-furred feline from a death world, stretched gracefully before offering her perspective. Amusingly, this compelling topic sprang from the nerd's mind, she quipped, smirking at Zaraxus, who visibly tensed at the offhand slight. However, my kind could simply slice the human's throat with our talons. I've heard their necks are unexpectedly vulnerable. My race would obliterate the human, Kazur, a fully furred Zeriar with a penchant for teasing Zaraxus, proclaimed. As his peers mocked, highlighting the human origin from a high-gravity planet, he swiftly retorted, "All right. Assuming they're resilient, we simply overfeed them until they become inert." The ideas poured forth, each one escalating in its unsettling nature. A scrawny student in the middle row proposed employing venomous projectiles. Another asserted that their species possessed weaponry far surpassing human tech. A scaled veteran near the back even hinted that a bite from his kind could inflict devastating damage to human physiology. The crucial strategy would be to overload their sensory perceptions, chimed in another student. Humans are profoundly reliant on visual perception. Psychological warfare, another student proposed. First, shatter their psychological resilience. Mr. Hex's face grew increasingly disturbed, sensing the class relishing the discussion excessively. The educational drill had morphed into something alarmingly akin to strategizing a real offensive. Perhaps we should advance to our planned material. Yet Zaraxus scarcely registered the instructor's redirection. His attention was riveted on the cloaked figure in the Deathworlder area, eagerly seeking any hint of a response. The human had maintained an extraordinary silence throughout the entire session, not even stirring as pupil after pupil detailed strategies for eliminating his kind. How does one cultivate such incredible restraint? Enough of this hypothetical, Mr. Hex declared, his composure momentarily faltering. Back to the curriculum. An unsettling quiet descended as the hooded figure deliberately stood, Every gaze in the room locked onto him as he deliberately drew back his hood, unveiling undeniably human features. Fair skin, forward-set eyes, and the same shock of yellow hair Zaraxis recalled from the previous evening. Vince surveyed the assembled students who had so eagerly offered their input, his eyes pausing thoughtfully on each face. Eventually, his gaze lingered on Zaraxis, fixated for what seemed an age before pivoting to Mr. Hex. "Frankly," Vince declared, his voice cutting through the thick silence, "that's futile. No proposal of yours can eliminate one of my kind." Bedlam seized the classroom. Students shrieked, chairs screeched, and numerous herbivores recoiled in terror. Even seasoned Deathworlders betrayed a flicker of surprise. Evidently none anticipated their hypothetical prey to boldly unmask himself. Mr. Hex's usually unflappable demeanor crumbled. His argent hair seemed to scintillate as his keen ears twitched frantically. "Indeed," he faltered, his voice cracking with unprecedented tremor. Zaraxis experienced a savage upheaval within his crystalline form. The human's unveiling wasn't the true shock. It was Vince's infuriating composure. Not rage, grief, or terror, but pure, unshakable confidence radiated from him, like he'd overheard a casual weather report, not the meticulously crafted annihilation of his kind. "Indeed, I am human," Vince stated plainly, his hands clasped firmly behind his back. Vince, hailing from Earth, the third planet within the Sol system, as I indicated previously to a specific roommate. "But how is this possible?" Mr. Hawk stammered, struggling to regain his composure. "No human has ever been granted entry to this esteemed institution. This rigorous safety protocol would be insurmountable for a Class 15 lethal entity. Headmaster Sahaza orchestrated specific accommodations," Vince responded. "She deemed it crucial to initiate some campus evolution. This deviates sharply from protocol. I received no prior notification of any incoming pupils, especially a human addition." A palpable sense of alarm underscored the instructor's tone. "The potential hazards are immense. I harbor no ill intent, Mr. Hex. My purpose is simply to learn, like all others present. However, the syllabus, the assigned seating, the nutritional provisions, none seem tailored for human assimilation. I'm adaptable. I can sit wherever you deem suitable, and I've come prepared with my own sustenance. Regarding the lessons, I believe I am rapidly gaining profound insights into interspecies dynamics." Mr. Hex's gaze swept across the room, lingering momentarily on each student involved in the hypothetical homicide debate before fixating on Zaraxis. "I must confirm this with the headmaster without delay." The instructor tapped a tiny device nestled behind his ear, engaging his implanted communicator. Zaraxis could only discern Mr. Hack's end of the discussion, yet it sufficed to infer the unfolding events. "Headmaster Zahaza, Hawk speaking. I'm facing an exceedingly pressing matter in my class." Pause. A student asserts their humanity. Another pause, drawn out this time. Affirmative. He seemingly aligns with human physiological traits, but... Hex's face morphed from sheer panic to bewilderment, then to a chilling sense of foreboding. "You deliberately kept me in the dark." Silence. "This social experiment?" Another drawn-out silence. "Yes, I grasp the value of genuine responses, Headmaster, but my pupils have just devoted 15 minutes to debating hypothetical approaches to..." Silence. "No, he seems utterly unfazed by the whole affair." Silence. "Excellent. Affirmative. I shall proceed with the announcement. Mr. Huck retracted his hand, his countenance reflecting a jarring revelation. His meticulously ordered reality had been utterly upended. "Class," he proclaimed, his voice exhibiting a faint rasp. "It seems a human student will, in fact, be integrating into our ranks. Hey, I'm Vince, personally enrolled by Principal Zahaza," he started, offering a quick wave. "Great to formally meet everyone." His eyes met Zaraxis's briefly. Then, "I realize this might be a bit unusual, but I'm really eager to learn alongside you all." Turning to the earlier participants, he added amiably, "Mizara, correct?" glancing at the black-furred feline. "You suggested claws on human necks. In reality, human necks possess robust muscular and skeletal defenses. Furthermore, we exhibit exceptional reflexes in safeguarding crucial zones. Your claws would likely become ensnared within the muscle before accessing any vital point." Mizara's ears drooped, pressed tightly against her skull, yet she remained silent. "And Kazur," Vince proceeded, pivoting towards the Zerar, the one advocating for relentless beatings. "Fascinatingly, humans adapt and evolve under immense pressure. We call it an adrenaline surge. The more intensely you strike us, the greater our resistance to pain becomes, and the more fiercely determined we are to survive. You'd likely transform us into a far more formidable threat, not diminish us." His spectacles flashed as he blinked rapidly. "The venomous projectile concept displays ingenuity," Vince remarked to the slender student. "However, humanity boasts sophisticated toxin antidotes. We've combated venomous life forms for eons. Most interstellar travelers carry broad-spectrum antivenoms. While our innate resilience to toxins mitigates frequent reliance on them, it's noteworthy. Regarding advanced weaponry, the student's point is acknowledged. Concerning technology, humankind may astound. Our knack for creating explosive devices is remarkable, particularly given our extensive history of internal conflict. For the scaled Varir proposing a bite, human skin is surprisingly resilient and heals swiftly. Moreover, we could retaliate with a bite of our own. Despite appearances, our jaw muscles are remarkably strong. As for the sensory overload concept, while creative, humans exhibit rapid adaptation to sensory shifts. We initially developed as relentless hunters, designed to endure even amidst challenging circumstances. Intriguingly, he then engaged with the student proposing psychological tactics, a strategy potentially effective depending on the individual. While undeniably susceptible to mental strain, such tactics could equally ignite collective human rage, a spectacle yet unseen by any alien entity. Vince's tone consistently prioritized education over confrontation, resembling a tutor clarifying misunderstandings in a study session, rather than addressing threats to his species' existence. Upon concluding, he nonchalantly resumed his seat beside Mizara in the Deathworlder section, as if undisturbed. Mr. Hayek, visibly shaken, maintained his position at the front, tightly grasping the table for stability. His usually refined composure had totally deserted him, and he appeared on the verge of collapsing. So dramatically had the lesson veered from the expected mundane lecture on Deathworld adaptations. The ensuing silence was absolutely thunderous. Both Zaraxis and Mr. Hex's dread intensified as the classroom erupted in a cacophony of voices. Vince instantly became the focal point, everyone clamoring for his attention. "Seriously, Joe, do humans perpetually engage in conflict?" inquired a herbivorous student, eyes wide with captivating curiosity. Is it accurate that your planet boasts a diverse array of climates on a single world? Another interjected. How do you navigate the gravitational disparity? Doesn't everything feel weightless? Mizara, previously mortified, now eagerly inquired with sincere interest. You mentioned humans retaliate fiercely. Do you truly employ your teeth offensively? What's this relentless pursuit you call hunting? That sounds absolutely horrifying. A scaled student from the central row contributed. Vince was immediately engulfed by a sea of expectant faces, each craning to capture his every word. Indeed, humanity's history is riddled with millennia of conflict. While regrettable, this has inadvertently honed our survival instincts, he remarked, a faint smile playing on his lips. Absolutely, Earth boasts an astonishing diversity, from glacial expanses to searing deserts, often within a mere handful of kilometers. Absolutely astonishing, exclaimed a herbivore. How can any species thrive in such diverse conditions? We don't truly adapt, came the reply. We craft implements and attire to conquer any environment we encounter. The inquiries persisted, and Zaraxis observed with mounting frustration as student after student appeared genuinely captivated and intrigued by humanity. Remarkably, even some of the notorious Deathworlders who typically harassed him were now engaging in insightful and amicable inquiries about humanity and its vibrant culture. So when you suggested we'd transform you into a more formidable being, Kazura probed, his numerous eyes blinking with curiosity. Precisely what transpires during this adrenaline rush? Your heart rate skyrockets, pain becomes muted, reaction time sharpens dramatically, and you unlock hidden reserves of strength you typically can't access, Vince elucidated. It's fundamentally an emergency survival overdrive. That's genuinely remarkable, Kazur conceded, as a number of students concurred with nods. Zaraxis felt a tempest brewing within, a blend of apprehension and an unnerving envy. This deviated from the expected course. The human should have erupted in fury, exposing his primal instincts, perhaps even assaulting someone, thereby validating Zaraxis's views on Deathers. Vince captivated the class, radiating charm with his composed explanations and endearingly humble humor. He stole a glance at Mr. Hex, still immobile at the head of the room, clutching his desk, long ears drooping. The teacher's face was an inscrutable mask. Zaraxis was uncertain whether he felt relieved that the situation diffused without a catastrophic Deathworlder rampage in his classroom, or simply stunned by the utter implosion of his lecture. Is it genuinely true humans possess the capacity to consume nearly anything? Another student inquired. Within sensible limitations, Vince chuckled. As omnivores, our systems process flora and fauna, yet our adaptability isn't boundless. Numerous substances can prove lethal. His nonchalant mention of species mortality drew chuckles, students finding his candor surprisingly refreshing. Zaraxis's thoughts spiraled darkly. What transpires after class? Will the human seek retribution for today's affront? Logic suggests Vince displayed no aggression, but prejudice held sway. Every Deathworlder he'd met had ultimately betrayed him. Why expect a different outcome this time? His translucent organs churned with apprehension, picturing Vince trapping him in the corridors, possibly accompanied by his freshly acquired Deathworlder acquaintances. Kazur by himself was daunting, but now the human potentially commands the entire carnivorous contingent of the class as allies. His esteemed academic standing offered scant shield against a mob of enraged Deathworlders convinced he'd slighted their celebrated new acquaintance. Is it genuinely true humans possess superior healing capabilities compared to the majority of species? Someone inquired. Absolutely. Relative to most, our robust active immune systems and remarkable blood clotting responses are highly advantageous, Vince asserted. It's a consequence of inhabiting a planet where survival necessitates constant vigilance against lethal threats, Vince quipped. Fresh waves of amusement reverberated amongst his audience. Students, previously strangers, now connected through their shared captivation with the human. Zaraxis grasped with rising dread that his scheme had disastrously backfired. Far from revealing Vince as a mere savage from a deadly planet, he'd unintentionally transformed him into the class's most beloved figure. Even more damning, his orchestration of that theoretical murder discussion likely screamed culpability to any moderately intelligent person. The wall clock relentlessly ticked down the final minutes of class. Soon he'd be forced to venture into the corridor and confront the looming repercussions awaiting him. His bias might have just landed him a new, lethal Deathworlder foe, arguably the most formidable he's faced. With the clock winding down, Zaraxis was gripped by anxiety, dreading his exit. As the bell announced the lesson's close, Zaraxis reluctantly, with shaky hands, collected his belongings. His translucent anatomy vibrantly pulsed with each throb as he envisioned the ordeal awaiting him in the corridors. Instinct screamed for him to postpone his venture until the hallways cleared, but such hesitation would only prolong the inescapable. He ventured from the classroom, his jelly-like form more rigid than ever. His anxieties materialized instantly as he blundered headlong into the locker bay. Kazur, Mizara, the reptilian Verer student, and ominously Vince all swiveled, their keen alien senses having registered his presence ages before he spotted them. Indeed, Kazur's multifaceted gaze fixed upon Zaraxis with palpable, predatory intrigue. Well, look who finally graced us with their presence. Mizara's ears twitched, a wicked smile dancing on her feline face. The inquisitive academic, eager to learn the art of human termination. How exceedingly kind of him to attend. The reptilian student emitted a subtle hiss, perhaps a sign of sinister amusement. Perhaps he's volunteering to be the star of our next live demonstration. Zaraxis felt a paralyzing dread grip his core, yet beneath the terror lurked a reluctant acknowledgement of his self-inflicted predicament. Uncharacteristically, his customary self-righteous fury was absent. His meticulously planned classroom embarrassment had stunningly rebounded, and now these formidable Deathworlders were likely attempting to impress their newfound human acquaintance by showcasing their favored sport, the merciless torment of vulnerable intellectuals. Step right up, Zaraxis, Kazur beckoned, his voice laced with that oh-so-familiar, deceptively amiable tone, a harbinger of impending doom. As Zaraxis hesitantly drew near, Kazur's mighty arms lashed out, seizing him firmly by the shoulders, effortlessly hoisting his quivering, jelly-like mass against the unforgiving chill of the metallic wall. Zaraxis's feet hung precariously above the floor, his ethereal form pressed uncomfortably against the surface as Kazur's grip intensified, enough to visibly convulse his organs with terror. A wave of utter helplessness engulfed him, the same gut-wrenching sensation he'd endured countless times before in these corridors. This was the end, he realized. As Vince integrated, chuckling harmoniously with the group, perhaps proposing his own ingenious methods to bedevil the vulnerable scholar, he could definitively confirm Zaraxis's long-held conviction. All Death Eaters were uniformly savage beings. Yet the man casually ambled towards Khazur, hand still nestled in his pockets. "I'm struggling to grasp the situation," Vince remarked, his tone conversational. "Where's the thrill in teasing him relentlessly? It's blatantly obvious he's ill-equipped for this." Khazur's grip eased momentarily, taken aback. "It's merely playful jostling. Forges resilience, builds fortitude, you realize, hardens them, makes them sturdy." "Indeed," Mizara chimed in promptly. "It's beneficial for him. It empowers him, bolsters his spirit." Vince nodded sagely, his usual relaxed demeanor unwavering. "I concur wholeheartedly. Physical play can forge resilience." He paused, fixing Khazur with a direct gaze. "Perhaps we could explore that dynamic further, outdoors. I assure you, engaging with me would be far more stimulating." The atmosphere shifted palpably, the air growing heavy with unspoken tension. Gently, Khazur returned Zaraxis to Earth, his multifaceted eyes flickering as he absorbed the human's statement. The reptilian student instinctively recoiled, and even Mizara's assured stance wavered. The atmosphere had subtly transformed, yet Vince preserved his easygoing, amicable manner, just as he had in class. No imminent danger was apparent, no overt aggression displayed, merely an underlying assurance that ominously compressed the hallway, heightening the sense of peril. "Actually," Khazur finally broke the silence, "it's simply not advantageous. Let's withdraw." He pivoted, urging the group to retreat. Mizara glanced back hesitantly, ears pinned back, before ultimately tailing Khazur down the passage. The reptilian student had virtually vanished around the corner. Zaraxis, plastered against the wall, his insides still quaking, struggled to comprehend the recent events. "But why?" he choked out. "Why intervene? Why shield me?" Vince merely shrugged, that familiar, easy smile playing on his lips. "Simply because I possessed the means to do so." Zaraxis scrutinized him, his thoughts wrestling to uncover the underlying intention. "This isn't some elaborate ruse to ambush me solo, dodging the competition, is it?" Vince chuckled genuinely, extending a hand to give Zaraxis a light pat on the shoulder. A touch that would have triggered utter alarm just yesterday, yet inexplicably felt benign now. "You're reading too much into this." Zaraxis paused, his gaze fixed on the human's face, struggling to decipher the rescue's intent. Why would a mortal being offer protection? What advantage did Vince seek by meddling? A scheme must exist, a clandestine motive his mind could unravel with deeper consideration. Revisiting the moment, he fixated on those unassuming words, simply because he possessed the ability. Not driven by some grand scheme, nor expecting reciprocation, not even out of fondness for Zaraxis, but purely because he wielded the power to assist and deliberately employed it. This notion felt refreshingly unprecedented. Zaraxis encountered a harsh reality, a savage world that utterly disoriented him. Finding no reason fitting his biases, he bravely spoke. "I apologize," he murmured, "for denying you the room, for banishing you to the library, and for the incident in class today." Vince's laughter was heartfelt. No need to fret about lodging. Principal Zahaza secured a vacant room for me. Furthermore, the class discourse proved quite engaging. I gleaned considerable insights into how other species perceive humankind. However, Zaraxis initiated, his insides already twisting with apprehension about tomorrow's re-encounter with his peers. "Everything will be all right," Vince stated plainly, shifting his backpack. "Believe in me." As the human receded down the corridor, Zeraxis lingered against the wall, observing his departure. It was the first time since his arrival at the Galactic Academy that he questioned his preconceptions about Deathworlders. Regarding this particular human, he was almost certain he had misjudged him.